Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I am good, sir. Yourself?
I am very, very well. A big thank you to Rich Shillito for our new intro music. It's lovely. Good stuff. And you haven't heard it yet because of the way we record these things. So yeah, you'll hear it when it goes up. But yeah, so new intro, new background and all that stuff because, you know, I was in the mood for a change. I think it's nice to keep mixing things up every now and again. It never gets boring.
I'm like Stewie. I don't like change.
Oh, I think you'll like this one. I actually, I was.
No, that was
I was looking at. I changed the background, I changed the logo and stuff, and I put it all together the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I wish I'd done this from the start. I way prefer the look of this. But see what you think anyway. If you hate it, we might change back next week. So.
I'm sure it'll be great.
But anyway, how have you been?
All right. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
I love
a little sort of, you know, mini holiday. Went to see my little nieces.
That's pretty cool.
In Newcastle.
And you said first time in like a year and a half, probably?
Yeah, we hadn't seen them. Well, other than like, you know, talking to them on Skype.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, this is the first time we've seen them in over a year. It was great.
Exciting times.
Even though we were in the Beer Bug Central, we didn't really leave the house, so we just sort of stayed in.
No.
Didn't see anybody, didn't speak to anybody, other, you know.
Yeah, I must admit, when my fiance was going up to Liverpool for training, this was like the height of the pandemic and the lockdown. She went up there and she said, like, the further north you go, the less people give a shit. And by the time she got to Liverpool from Bristol, she said no one's bothering. She said people were giving her weird looks for even wearing a mask when it got to like up there. So it's surprisingly different in different cities, and you know the way people are reacting to it all. But it's nice now that we get to see our friends and family again, catching up.
It is, you know, hopefully for, you know,
a couple of weeks.
I don't think it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We see how it goes when Christmas rolls around, won't we?
Yeah, but
we're all stuck inside again.
Well, that's it. But, you know, it's nice for now. It's nice for now. So anyway, obviously we did Hound of the Baskervilles, 1959, last week. Really enjoyed doing that. That was good fun. This week... It is good to do a Sherlock movie. And our older movies talks seem to go down very well. Generally. So, good fun. And, of course, this week we're back to normal. So, Matt, what have you been watching?
So I will start with Shadow in the Cloud.
Shadow in the Cloud, a movie that I don't think I've even heard of. So tell us all about Shadow in the Cloud.
So this is a movie that's been around for a bit. I think it's been around since 2019.
Oh, okay. That's because both of my movies are 2020 movies, so you've gone back further than me.
This one sort of got one of those sort of releases that didn't they kind of held on to it. And there was a lot of messing around, and then when they were doing it, the writer was Max Landis, and he got accused of sexual assault.
Oh,
so his name got taken off of it, and it was changed around, and then I don't know whether his name was put back on it, but it was anyway. It was a whole mess, and now it's on Amazon.
Right. Okay.
So it's Chloe Grace Moretz, Nick Robinson, Taylor John Smith, Callan Mulvey.
Right.
And it's directed by Roseanne Lang, who I think has done a lot of TV work. I think this might be her first proper film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's set in 1944, I think.
Right.
And it starts off with a Private Snarfu cartoon. So I don't know whether you've ever seen any of those Private Snarfu cartoons.
I don't know. I don't think so.
They made them during the war for the soldiers. And it's this little character who fucks things up and messes about. And it was kind of to tell the troops about, like, you know, keeping their mouths shut.
Oh, okay.
Not talking to strange ladies and stuff, and about hygiene, and about, you know, taking care of your equipment. It was all that sort of stuff, basically.
Okay.
So this one starts off with this cartoon, and it's this this Private Snarfu, who is I think it sounds sort of like situation normal, all fucked up.
Okay.
Is what I think Snarfu sounds. So this Starfu, he wakes up on this this hangar, this hammock underneath a bomber, and things start going wrong, and there's these gremlins turn up and start munching on the plane, and he's like, oh, these gremlins, I don't believe in gremlins, and all that sort of stuff, and it's is it all that. So then we go to the movie itself, and it's Chloe Grace Moretz is a female pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Who has been given this mission to take this package from, I think it's New Zealand to Samoa, and she commandeers this bomber, and obviously the crew don't want her on the plane, and they're all horrible to her. I mean, this is the serious collection of assholes on this plane.
Okay, yeah.
They're all terrible to her, and they basically look at her credentials. She's got all the right signatures and the stamp, so the captain basically says stick her in the ball turret on the bottom.
Oh, the worst place on the aircraft. Yeah.
So she gets put in the ball turret. She's not allowed to have there's not enough room for the package and her in the ball turret, so she gives it to like the only sympathetic seeming crew member.
Right.
At protest, and then basically what proceeds is things start going wrong. There's obviously, I think you can see from the trailer, there's a fucking gremlin on the plane.
Yeah.
And there are also encounters with Japanese planes and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a sort of, it's I guess it's a sort of horror war movie. It's got a synth 80s soundtrack, which is it's really good. I love this soundtrack. I guess it depends on whether you like 80s synth soundtracks or not.
I love them, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever seen The Keep? You must have seen The Keep.
Yes, yeah.
So it's weirdly it reminded me of The Keep.
Right. Okay.
In that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe Grace Moretz is amazing. She is.
She does not get enough work, I don't think.
No,
she's tremendous.
I don't know what it is about casting guys that they just don't see her in roles or something.
I don't know why.
She keeps getting not exactly terrible roles, but just not enough exposure. I mean,
no.
I don't know why.
She is tremendous.
It's a little odd because, to be honest, for a good, I would say over half of the movie, it's just her in the ball turret.
Sure.
And which is really good. She's talking to the guy.
It's really good if you've got an actor capable of pulling that off. Yeah.
Yeah, and she really does. She completely has. And she's you get these like weird sort of flashes when she's talking to the other crew people, and they're sort of like it goes to a sort of like a black background, and you see the person sort of looking at her,
mm-hmm.
as it were, and it's sort of like bathed in a sort of weird, like almost neon glow, which is very strange.
Okay.
And there are lots of weird stuff. So she's like clearly injured, and things, and obviously everything goes to shit, and it becomes sort of something a little different. But this movie is fucking weird.
Yeah, it sounds kind of weird, but in a kind of cool way, Because
the thing is I should really dislike everything about this movie because she's a total Mary Sue.
Okay.
She's sort of brilliant at everything. She keeps getting injured, like, she breaks her fingers at one point. She gets a claw through the shoulder. Things, she gets properly injured. But it's like she's like Wolverine or something, because she just fucking shrugs it off.
Okay.
And there's even a moment that's in the bloody trailer where an explosion basically propels her back into the plane.
Right.
It's absolutely batshit crazy. There's a bit where she's underneath. She's, for some reason, I won't go into complete details. She's crawling under the on the outside of the plane, underneath the plane.
Okay.
And she's crawling along the wing.
Okay.
The CG in some places is really not great, and it's you just think, what the hell has gone on? But and I will say this, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's just like, this is the weird reality of the movie, and we're just going to go with it, kind of thing.
I think that's it. I think it will depend on whether you want to go with it or not.
Yeah,
because it's completely
batshit
stupid. Yeah, I mean, and the Gremlins are very bat-like.
Sure.
Which is quite funny. Yeah, it's a really weird one to because I mean, everything about it should sort of just say, no, this is a terrible movie.
Yeah.
It's the some of the dialogue is ropey as fuck. Like, the male characters are just dickheads. And she is this complete Mary Sue. But you sort of, I don't know, I was sort of, maybe it's just because it was Chloe Grace Moretz. I just sort of was on her side.
A good actor will go a long way to help with those kind of things.
I think that's true. And there is a twist that I won't reveal that was a bit like, okay, and I guess it's in some ways it could almost be described as almost a social commentary, which is a bit weird. And I don't want to go into that too much because that'll spoil stuff. What the actual, but
yeah, fair enough.
It's just sort of, you get these sort of like dogfight scenes, and everything is crammed in. It's kind of like it's got bits of Terror at 20,000 feet. It's got what's that? Memphis Belle. It's got.
Do you know what it reminded me of immediately when you started talking about it was that episode of Amazing Stories with the guy who's drawing in the turret. And he ends up drawing the wheels. It kind of reminded me of that immediately, which that's like, that episode stuck with me as a child through adulthood. I'm sure that episode is naff, and if I watched it now, I'd be like, this is rubbish. But I adore my memory of that episode. That it was so
Amazing
cool.
Stories was great.
It was, wasn't it? It was really good.
They brought it back, didn't they? Not so long ago.
Yeah, apparently so.
I don't know I don't even know if those are any good or not.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't impressed with Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone particularly. Some of it was okay, no. But so yeah, I'm kind of like resistant to it as well, just because it's like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, the story kind of immediately reminded me of like that, and then I guess a bit of Twilight Zone with the gremlin on the wing and stuff. But it sounds interesting. I kind of like the sound of this.
I mean, to be honest, it just shouldn't work, and I know because I've read some of the reviews. It doesn't work for a lot of people.
Sure, yeah.
But
I could say the same about what was it called? Sweet Girl or whatever it was, the movie I reviewed last week. So many people will hate that movie. I know they will. It just kind of, and it doesn't really work. When you get to the twist, but I kind of just went with it and had fun with it, and I kind of enjoyed it in spite of itself.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely what with this. I think just don't think about
don't think too hard,
because this is clearly in a
fantasy world. It's a fantasy, and fair enough.
And it is like some of the things that she does. You're like, is she fucking Wonder Woman?
I guess the movie opens with a cartoon, and I guess maybe it is of almost done in that, propaganda-y kind of way.
It is kind of, it is very cartoony at times. I mean, especially the explosion thing. You think, okay, under normal circumstances, she'd have just been shredded.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, explosions don't blow you forward like that.
Not generally, no.
They do, but you tend to be in bits. I mean,
you're not getting up afterwards.
Honestly, I really enjoyed it. I think, I think a lot of people will. Your mileage will definitely vary because it's
fair enough.
It's not your thing, and the depending on what you take away from it, it's up to the beholder, as it were. But I actually really enjoyed it, and it has so much things that I shouldn't enjoy.
Yeah.
Things in other movies like the Mary Sue stuff. I mean, the whole fucking Rey Palpatine, that fucks me right off, her character.
Yes.
But for some reason in this movie, I don't know. I just went with it.
It helps.
Maybe because it wasn't destroying a franchise, that I love. But I don't. Maybe that's why it is.
Helps if the character's likable as well.
Mm.
Even if they are a Mary Sue, if they're actually a likable character, that helps.
Yeah, and I think she was definitely that. And I said there's some of the scenes of her just in this ball turret, talking to the these guys who were just being dicks to her.
Yes.
And sort of, you know, she sees.
I learned from Captain Marvel that that's how that works.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They're all just horrible.
I mean, bomber crews, I mean, I'm sure we're very salty.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a shit job. I mean, let's be honest.
Exactly. But
and the turret is the last place I would want to be on a plane. Let's be clear about that.
I always loved the idea of being a tail gunner, and then you sort of like look at the statistics for tail gunners. So
it's not good. It's not great. No.
But, yes. So yeah, no, I would not want to be in one of those bloody. Not in the.
It sounds like the most terrifying thing.
So cramped.
Yeah, and just terrifying.
I do have the advantage that I'm quite short, so I would fit in all right.
Yeah, I'd fit. That's the problem. I guess I would probably end up there because I'd fit. You know.
Oh, you're a short ass.
Get in
the pod.
Oh well, I may well give this one a go. It sounds like a bit of fun, and I can get behind that.
It's real fun. I mean, it's totally. Do not fucking take this movie seriously because it's fucking batshit, over the top silly.
It sounds like the movie isn't taking itself too seriously, so that's all that really matters.
I don't think it's. I think there's a lot of people that said, you know, the feminine agenda stuff is over the top, and it is, but I don't know. For me, it kind of just worked. It was just so silly. It was so silly that I couldn't take it serious enough to sort of hate it.
And I think writing and execution is everything. There's nothing wrong with you know, having a feminist movie or that you know, that kind of message. It's just as long as it's well written and as long as it's well directed and it's fun or it's, you know, gets the point across. Cool.
Yes,
you know, it's the lazy writing that is the problem generally.
Yeah, and I will say that. I mean, this isn't a greatly written movie either, but it's just I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and it's quite, you know, it's an hour and 20-ish, so it's quite a short movie, and I think it moves along at a pretty good pace. So yeah, I would recommend it to anybody who wants to see something a bit silly and you know, like a funny horror war movie. It
sounds fun. Yeah, I will probably give it a go when I'm in that kind of mood, you know, because every now and again I'm in the mood for a bit of silly.
And if you just want to see a decent Chloe Grace Moretz performance, there you go. I'm just for that.
I mean, I'd argue watch any of her movies because, you know, they are all pretty incredible. You know, in terms of her performance. So, going from that to the other end of the spectrum, I guess, I watched Worth from 2020. Starring Michael.
I was looking at that, and it's like, this cast is amazing. This story looks great. I think that will bum me out. I am not going to watch that yet. So I wasn't in the mood for it yet.
Sure. I was in the mood for it. I will say though, I was like on Netflix, and there was the documentary series they've got out now, and then this came up, and I was like, is this just coincidence that the Taliban have taken over and this is now happening? And then I was looking at the dates of all these things, and I was like, Netflix, you shamelessly fucking cashing in on what is a real horrible situation right now. They're like, yeah, this movie came out in 2020. It's made in 2020. Let's release it now. And let's release this documentary series now. Just pure coincidence, I'm sure, Netflix. I'm sure.
I mean, there's an anniversary.
There is an anniversary quickly approaching, so it could be pure coincidence, but it was a bit like, But in any case, yes, Worth from 2020. Starring Michael Keaton, Amy Ryan, Stanley Tucci, I always forget how to pronounce his last name. Tucci. And directed by Sarah Colangelo. I'm not sure what else she's directed, actually. I will just look that up, because I don't know if I've seen her in anything else. No, it looks like it might be one of the first films she made. Certainly directing-wise, anyway. But... so this follows the story of a true story of the lawyer. His name's Kenneth Feinberg, and he basically takes on the task of compensating the families of the victims of the September 11th attacks. A fucking thankless, horrendous job that you would run run from if you could possibly help it. Yeah, but Michael Keaton plays Kenneth Feinberg. The performances are tremendous from beginning to end. There is not a bad performance. In fact, the only real criticism about the cast that I have is that I wish Amy Ryan was in it more. Her story is she's kind of at first at least, she's the conscience of the movie, and she's the one that kind of shows, along with Stanley Tucci, Kenneth, the error of his ways, and that maybe the model he's come up with isn't suitable for everyone. Because basically, Kenneth Feinberg comes up with this model of how we're going to compensate the families. The criteria and it all adds up to this much. And there's a wonderful scene where he's just, he's taken on this responsibility, and everyone's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to," and he's like, "I want to do it to help. I want to help." And his argument is, if we don't do it this way, it will be tied up in the courts forever, and these families will never get anything. They'll get nothing. So either we work this out, or they don't get compensated. But he goes into this meeting with a number of the victims, or family members of the victims and / surviving victims. Very confident, and you just see his whole model that he's like, yeah, this is how it's going to work, and he tries to present it, and it just falls completely flat on its face. But yeah, you've got Amy Ryan. Amy
Ryan is a great actress.
Oh,
anyway.
she's incredible, and her character, obviously presumably based on a real person, is kind of his conscience at first, and kind of shows him the error of his ways, along with Stanley Tucci, who is probably the standout of the movie. Usually is the standout in most movies he's in.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Stanley Tucci's one of those actors who's he's in a lot of stuff. He was one of the greatest things about Bolt, and and he was only in that for 10 minutes, and so Stanley Tucci's just awesome.
He's incredible, and here he plays Charles Wolfe, who is I think he's an opera singer, or at least he was part-time, and basically he sets up the website that basically says that the fund is broken. The fund that Kenneth is running, it doesn't work. The model's broken, but because he's lost his wife. He lost his wife in the September 11th attacks. And it's a really... The scenes between Michael Keaton and Stanley Tucci are incredible. Stanley Tucci is like, your fund is fundamentally broken, but they have a lot in common, and you can see that Stanley Tucci, his character, doesn't take it. He knows it's not personal. It's not like Kenneth Feinberg's fault even. At first he's frustrated with him, but as it goes on, he kind of sees this is kind of an impossible task, and he tries to guide him. But it is a very emotional movie. Obviously, it's a different look at the attacks. The movie, you have a wonderful shot. I thought it was very well done, actually. Literally an establishing shot of, I think it's Stanley Tucci's house. And as it's panning down, you see a plane flying over. And then when Michael Keaton's Kenneth Feinberg is on the train in to New York, the attacks happen. And you see the reaction of people in the train. He's listening to music and doesn't notice until the last minute. He looks out the window, you see smoke in the distance, and that's pretty much it. You don't see the attacks, because a lot of the movies I've seen around September 11th always show the attacks and everything going on. This is very much dealing with the fallout of the attacks and dealing with the families, and we get to hear their stories. So they do interviews with family members, and they obviously eventually they work out that the model's not going to work, and they need that personal touch for certain people in certain situations, and that's kind of the gist of the movie. So it's not a very happy movie, obviously. I think it does a tremendous job in telling that story. I don't know how accurate it is, obviously, but it's an interesting way to tell the story of the families of the victims, and hearing their stories of the people they loved and what they did, and you get the arguments of should the CEO of this company that was, or the this financial manager, is he worth more than my daughter who worked in the cafe in the tower? All of those kind of things. It's really, really good and really well acted. Honestly, if you're in the mood for this kind of thing, and I must stress, if you're in the mood, because it's not a happy
it's a
movie.
Heavy subject.
It's a heavy subject, but if you're in the mood for it, I highly, highly recommend it. It was a fantastic film, and like I said, I don't know, I have not heard of Sarah before, and I'm just looking her up now, or Sarah. It doesn't look, she's not got an awful lot on Wikipedia, which would suggest to me that this might be her first big movie.
It looks like she's done a couple of
Little Accidents, I think, was the other movie she's done.
Kindergarten Teacher.
But this is wonderfully shot. I thought this was a tremendous film. So yeah, I highly recommend Worth on Netflix if you're in the mood.
I will. The thing is I saw the trailers and I saw the actors and I thought I will definitely watch this
when I'm in the right mood.
Have to be like, not.
I think
in the right frame of in the complete right frame of mind for it.
I was also thinking that it's time finally, that the time has finally come for me to drop the saying that I've been saying since we were doing a radio show with this podcast when it was live on the radio.
Yeah.
I don't think I can any longer say that Michael Keaton deserves more work, because he's everywhere now. He's back.
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
back,
that
and it's glorious.
He's glorious. Doing bloody well for himself
he
right
is,
now,
and deservedly so.
Thank the universe.
But for years and years and years, I've been saying, "Oh, Michael Keaton deserves more work," and finally, we're at the point where he is getting all the work in the world, and I couldn't be happier because he's a tremendous actor and tremendous in this film.
I'm completely looking forward. To be at this point, it's one of the main reasons why I want to see that Flashpoint movie.
It's the only reason, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Like, literally the only reason I care about that movie. And I think I'm still, even then, I'm going to wait and hear how much of he's actually in it to deem whether I can be bothered to go to the cinema.
True.
Because I don't really like Ezra Miller as Flash.
No.
And the thought of him, I think he's going to be like, at the moment, the way they're advertising it, it's almost like he's going to be a guest in his own movie, like he's not really the focal point of the film at all right now.
Yeah, because there's certainly a lot going on in that bloody movie. So far, so we'll see. Yeah.
In any case, what else have you been watching?
So I will go with Boss Level.
Boss Level. Yes. Tell me all about it. I hadn't even heard of this one. So
this is another one on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Came out a couple of weeks back, I think.
Right.
It's Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, Naomi Watts, Michelle Yeoh. It's got a fucking great cast.
Yeah.
Selena Lowe, and it's directed by Joe Carnahan, who previously did The A-Team, Narc, Smoking Aces.
I remember enjoying Narc. I think Narc was pretty good, wasn't it? I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he's done quite a lot of Frank Grillo movies, so that I guess that tells you something.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is Frank Grillo's ex-Special Forces role, Roy Pulver. Wakes up every day to a machete-wielding lunatic.
Oh, I've seen the trailer to this. You've just reminded me. I have seen the trailer to this.
He is stuck in a
time loop,
a Groundhog Day loop.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like those movies. I like time loop movies.
I do as well. We've reviewed quite a few of them
recently
because there's quite a lot of them around at the moment. What was that? Oh, what was that one with the?
Well, there's Happy Death Day. There was the one when they're on the holiday, aren't they, somewhere? You reviewed that one. I've still not watched it.
The wedding one. I can't remember what it was called now. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was great. Obviously Mel Gibson's on bad guy duties in this one.
Great.
And basically Frank Grillo, his wife.
It's far easier. It's far easier to buy Mel Gibson as a bad guy these days than a good guy.
It really
at this point,
it really is. He's certainly sort of morphed into that.
Yeah.
Villain.
I think so.
I mean, he always kind of played anti-heroes anyway.
That's true.
He was. It's very rare that he was.
I mean, Braveheart's probably the one movie where he was like,
yes.
I'll just be a straight up, good guy. But yeah, other than that, you're right.
True. So Naomi Watts plays his ex-wife, and she is working on this time machine. It's not exactly a time machine, but it kind of is. It's this sort of I think it's called. Is it the Osiris Wave or something like that? It's called. And she's basically working underneath Mel Gibson's character.
Okay.
This Colonel Clive Venter, and it through obviously it jumps backwards and forwards because he tells you. So there's some very funny bits at the beginning where he's talking about I think this is like his 140th day or something.
Right.
Doing this. And it's like him avoiding the guy with the machete. Then a helicopter comes down and guns his apartment to shit. He jumps out of the window, lands on a truck, and then carjacks this guy. And then he's getting chased by these two women in this car. And it sort of spirals from there. Everywhere he goes, there are these this group of assassins, and each there's a dwarf who explodes him. There's these two women who just sort of shoot him. There's this sort of redneck guy who harpoons him with this harpoon on the back of his car.
I mean, it's like every Groundhog Day like movie has to have these montages of different deaths of the main character.
It is him telling you the first couple of times I completely missed the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So you see him miss the truck and things, and it's got some really good shorthands for that. It works really well. Frank Grillo, he's not a good actor. He's very good. He's a great action guy.
Yes,
not a great actor.
Absolutely.
But for the most of this, he's charming enough to pull it off.
Yeah,
he's charming enough to pull off this sort of like slightly dickish Special Forces guy who's estranged from his wife, and they've got a kid, but the kid doesn't know he's the dad.
Sure.
And the sort of the cast of like weird assassins is quite funny. There's like these German twins, and yeah, they're all sort of like really weird. And he's been doing all these things, and he slowly sort of works out that this is to do with his his ex-wife, and he goes back to the day before and like remembers what she said to him, and it's like, oh, maybe I should actually look into that. It's like only been 100 days, but now you remember this, And for the most part, it's really good actually. It's really fun. It's really quite funny. Again, the cast is great. Most of the performances are really good. It slightly dipped for me in the middle, but not enough to sort of put me off. It just got a little sort of. You get to a point where you're like, oh, come on, can we move on now? And then something happens, and it's like, oh, okay, fine. I'm not going to spoil the sort of the twist, but something happens, and it's like, okay, so he's got to do that now, and he has to change his strategy. And there's a bit where he learns to be a swordsman with Michelle Yeoh's character, which was quite funny.
Awesome.
And there's some, I mean, oh god, there's is it Ken Jeong? Yeah, Ken Jeong, who I find so fucking tedious. He's got his part. Thankfully, is small enough that it doesn't make me want to smash the TV. Yeah. So he's got, he's this sort of restaurant owner. I think that he goes to the bar to drink there every day, sort of thing. And his part's fine, but luckily it's so small that it's not so bad. Apart from that, yeah, it's a really, really fun, silly, over the top.
Yeah, bit of fun.
Day movie, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got it's got some really great fight scenes in it. The fight scenes are really good.
Yeah, as you'd expect.
Yeah, and the director's pretty good at making them look fantastic. So yeah, I think if you want to see a nice sci-fi effects martial art movie, this is really good. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, cool. Well, I will probably check that one out. I did. Excuse me. I'd forgotten about that trailer, but I have seen that trailer. And it did look quite fun. It looked.
Again, it's a just don't think about it too much movie.
And those are fine. You know, like you said, you know, you're not always in the mood to watch something like Worth. You just want a bit of fun. And to cleanse my palate after watching Worth, I decided I was in the mood for a bit of horror, and I watched The Empty Man.
Okay.
A movie which I was bloody impressed by, far more than I was expecting, because the trailer kind of looks like, it's like an urban myth kind of, horror movie, and I like those kind of horror movies anyway. I like that kind of urban story of like Candyman and things like that. I kind of like that. Like, I
remember seeing the trailer. Yeah, it's got a very Candyman vibe to it.
It does, but it ain't. Well, it kind of is. It incorporates that, but that's not really what's going on, shall we say. Interestingly, this is made by Boom Studios, and it's actually based on a graphic novel as well. Obviously, Boom Studios are a comic company as far as I know, so I guess this might be one of their first movies as well.
Cool.
It was directed by David Pryor and stars James Badge Dale, Maureen Ireland, Stephen Root, and Ron Canada. And
James Badge Dale, he's one of those
great
actors that's just in loads of stuff.
He is, and he deserves more.
Very good at playing soldiers.
He's
great in 13th Hour.
Yes. I didn't realise until I was looking up the cast for this movie that he was in Lord of the Flies. I just, because obviously he was a child then, presumably. So
Oh, really?
Apparently he was in Lord of the Flies. So the movie is interesting. The first 20 minutes happen, and then you get the opening title, and then the movie continues from there, which is kind of interesting. It starts in 1995 in Ura Valley in Bhutan, and you've got these four friends that go hiking in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere, obviously, and
as you do.
Yeah, as you do, and one of the people there, Paul, he hears a strange whistling noise calling him, and none of the others hear it. He hears it, and he kind of starts walking off to investigate it, and falls into this hole, basically this cavern, and his friends obviously run after him, shocked, and they can't hear him. They're calling after him. One of them climbs down to find him, and he finds him kneeling at this creature, this dead skeleton. Weird kind of like forearms and all sorts of weird stuff going on with it. It's clearly quite an alien weird thing. And Paul says to I think it's Greg, says to Greg, or he's whispering, and you can't quite hear him, but he's whispering under his breath, and he says, "If you touch me, you will die. Like, if you touch me, you will die." And obviously he doesn't believe him. He thinks he's just talking nonsense, and carries him out. He says, "Look, I'm done with this. I'm carrying you out." And it kind of turns out that this guy has suffered from depression in the past. He's tried to kill himself before. He's had, I think, substance issues as well. So they think that he's not physically hurt. He's just, there's something mentally wrong with him. But they think he's just had like a break, a psychotic break. And they're in the middle of nowhere. So they can't take him anywhere. And Greg says, "I can't carry him anymore in this weather." There's like a snowstorm and all that. And anyway, people die. And then we get the opening credits, and it's like, okay, that was weird. That was like first 20 minutes. I was really invested. I was like really enjoying this. This is really good. And then we cut to Missouri in 2018. So we go from 1995 to 2018, where we get former detective James, his name is. This is played by James Badge Dale, and he is like a security store owner, grieving over the death of his wife and son in a car accident from a year ago. And he's friends with a local girl and her mother. And one day her daughter disappears. So he investigates as kind of a private detective at this point, I guess. He's a former detective, used to be in the police force, quit, and now runs a security store. But he basically takes it upon himself to find Amanda, the missing daughter. And what starts off is one of those urban mythy kind of things. You get this great scene on a bridge where apparently if you find a bottle on a bridge, you blow into the bottle and you think about the empty man, then the empty man will appear, that kind of thing.
Right.
But what starts is that progresses and becomes something very different. And I don't want to spoil it because I did not see the twist coming at the end, and I really, really liked the twist at the end of this movie. But it involves much more around a... I'm trying to think how to talk about this without spoiling it. There is clearly some kind of supernatural entity. And
I presume so if they find a corpse with the 4 arms.
Yeah, well, they find this thing at the start, yeah, and it's about effectively a cult of people that are trying to bring this thing into our reality. But all is not how it seems, and as the movie progressed, I was like, wow, this was not the movie I was expecting, and by the end of it, I was thoroughly impressed. It's extremely well directed, really well shot.
The vibes I was getting was also what were those? They did a movie with blimey, Christian, not Chris. For fuck's sake, is it Alan Wake?
Oh, the video game.
Yeah, the video, and they did a movie with what's his name? Christian Slater. I think they did, and I got those vibes from.
Sure, I don't think I've seen that movie, but
the detective-y angle sort of thing, the thing, and I like the sort of that sort of thing.
It's like I said, it's really not what I thought it was going to be, and I did not see the twist at the end coming, but it's the perfect kind of twist where you're like, I didn't see that coming, but now that I reflect on the film, it's all made sense leading up to this point. There've been hints there all the way along.
I like it when the twist actually makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've been laying the foundation for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not the highest budget movie. I think $16 million. And it's a long movie. It's about 2.5 hours almost. But I like longer movies, and this film really impressed me. I don't want to spoil the ending, so I'm kind of being careful, dodging around. But there are some really creepy scenes, really effective scenes, great use of sound and lack of sound. It's not... there's often creepy moments where they just leave, no music, no anything. It's just, just the ambience of the place they're in. And it's really, really creepy in places, and it's a great story. I was really impressed. Really, really impressed. So I highly recommend The Empty Man. And that's there we go. And maybe we should change it now that Michael Keaton gets enough work. James Badge Dale deserves more work. But yes, highly recommended. So what else have you been watching?
So I have also seen The Vault, which I believe came out last week, maybe. Again on Amazon.
I almost watched this one as well.
Mostly Amazon movies this week, which makes a change from Netflix ones.
Well, why not? It's good. So, I tend to exhaust one and then move back to the other. So yeah.
So this is my word. I am going to mess this poor man's name up. I am terribly sorry. So it's directed by Juem Balaguerro.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm terrible. He a Spanish director. Did Wreck.
I did enjoy Wreck.
And Fragile. So this is it's Freddie Highmore, Astrid Burgess Frisbee, Sam Riley, Liam Cunningham, and Louis Tosser.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off with Sam Riley and Liam Cunningham. Well, actually, the very start is it looks like basically you're underwater looking up at a galleon that's being destroyed, and there are bits and pieces coming down.
Some expensive bits and pieces, I'm guessing.
And yes, there's a little a chest with Oh, now I'm going to forget what it is. It's
bullion.
It's no. There's an inscription on it. It's
okay.
Sick something. It's a Latin thing, and immediately my brain knew what that was. It's a Francis Drake's motto.
Oh, okay.
And anybody who's played the Uncharted games,
Uncharted,
will know exactly what this is. So this thing goes, and then you cut to, like, obviously hundreds of years later.
Yes.
And Liam Cunningham is the captain of this ship, and Sam Riley is diving in around this area, and they're obviously salvagers.
Sure.
And he finds they find all this treasure, and they bring it up, and they're going through it, and just as they're sort of celebrating their find, boats and a helicopter turn up, and the Spanish, I guess, military navy turn up and basically
claim everything. Yeah,
confiscate. Say it's in their waters. They got no license for it.
Yeah.
So then they go to the sort of go to this court sort of thing, and the Spanish government declares that he can't have it, and that it's gonna be housed in the vault of the Bank of Spain until they can figure out what to do with it.
Sure.
So Liam Cunningham is really pissed off. Sam Riley is this. He's a diver. He was diving. He did this free diving. They set up this free diving thing that he does at one point, which is like there's a small gap that in the hull of this wrecked ship that he can't fit through without all his equipment on. So he sort of free dives through, and he gets the thing and comes back anyway.
Of course.
So we then switch to and this all takes place in, I'm going to get the year wrong now, early 2000s anyway. It was my knowledge of football is like zero. I don't do football. Same. And this is during one of the World Cups.
Right. I think they're every couple of years. So that. Yeah,
this was big Spain. I think it was in South Africa.
Okay.
I think the actual World Cup itself. Anyway, you then switch to Freddie Highmore, who is this uber genius kiddie who is getting interviews by all these companies, saying, we can give you this and we can give you that and we can give you this salary and all that stuff. And they're all like oil companies and stuff. And apparently he came up with some technology, or he came up with some plan that saved lives and things and stuff. But he did it for the people, not for the corporations, and the corporations are all like so. And he has this meal with his dad, and his dad's like, you've got to pick something, you've got to do this. I've got you all these interviews and this. And he's like, obviously this kid's got a conscience and stuff, and he wants to use his mega brain for good.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he gets this text message while he's having this meal with his dad that says, "I've got an offer for you, but it's not an oil company. It's something that will interest you, all that sort of stuff." So obviously he meets this girl called Lorraine, and she takes him to this art show where she proceeds to steal a wallet from one of the guys, and then she plants it on him, and he's like, "What's going on? I don't want anything to do with this." And she's like, "No, just come with me." And then she takes him to Liam Cunningham's character, who explains about what's going on and this, and he is intrigued, so he agrees to go with them. And basically they say that this vault in the Bank of Spain has never been broken into. It's no one knows what it is. It was built in the sort of Victorian times. It's most people don't even know what it's unbreakable because people don't even know what it is.
Right.
They don't know what the actual. No one's ever seen the plans for it. No one's ever seen what it really looks like, other than the bank people. So that's the big mystery is, first of all, you've got to figure out what the fuck all the traps or whatever it is are.
Yeah.
Before we can even go in there. And then obviously from there it's a big bank heisty type thing and all that, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So Sam Riley, Astrid Burgess, Frisbee, and Liam Cunningham and Lewis Tosser are amazing. They're really, really great. Freddie Highmore is stiff as fuck. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know whether he's been playing. It's that he's been playing that autistic character in that show he does for too long that he's kind of, zoned out and he's just playing a brick. But he's for some reason he's pretty bad. And there's some real logic leaps. Like, okay, so this guy who's got a this conscience about people and not working for big oil suddenly goes with a bunch of thieves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So kind of like Shadow in the Clouds, this movie has got holes you could drive trucks through. It's really silly and just a bit rubbish, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. There
are so many times where you're just like, well, that's bollocks. But honestly, it's just a fun heist movie that's got some pretty good performances. Liam Cunningham is always great.
Yeah.
Sam Riley is great, and I'm sure his voice just keeps getting deeper. He's going to end up sounding like Michael Wincott eventually, I think.
Yeah.
And it's even got Famke Janssen, who really, she's had a lot of work done.
Really?
She's almost. I was looking at her when she turned up. She's like playing this MI6 agent sort of thing, or MI6 controller.
Right.
And she turns up, and first of all, I was like, I recognise you, but I can't quite place you. And it's like, oh my god, it's Famke Janssen. She's a bit smoothed out now, and she looks a bit odd. But she's fine for what her part is.
Yeah.
There are so many obvious bits, like there's an inevitable betrayal. There's silly decisions that you just go, that I'm sure that wouldn't really work. But having said that, I really enjoyed it. It's a crap movie with some real bad plot points, but overall, it's just kind of enjoyable. If you like heist movies, it's not as good as like the first, Ocean's movie or
sure.
Well, the remake is what the remake of the first Ocean's movie, and it's there's some great heist movies that are amazing. I can never remember the name of that black and white French one, which is fantastic. There's just some great ones. This is not great, but what it is an entertaining, silly heist movie that will, I think will keep you entertained enough.
Sure.
It's it's not great. It's got some charismatic characters in it. It hits all the sort of the usual beats of those of a heist movie. Yeah. But it's not terrible. Put it this way. It's more of a heist movie than that Dead movie was. Sure.
That's fine. And I personally thoroughly enjoy heist movies. I really like heist movies. So I will probably check this out for a bit of fun. Why not?
It is. It's a fun little movie. It's not it's not doing anything original or any of that. But I did keep thinking like this is like a lot of this is the plot to, I can't remember which Uncharted game it was, but one of the later ones. And it's like is this Uncharted? Because even like at one point like Liam Cunningham's character feels like who's the guy that wears the Hawaiian shirts.
His
mate.
I can't think of his name.
Mate and mentor.
Yeah,
I love that character. He's brilliant. He sort of reminded me of him. It was like, is he playing that guy?
Does this movie have like ludicrously huge, like puzzle things with cogs and stuff and nonsense?
Kind of.
I always like that about those games. You're like, who the fuck built this? How does this even work? I mean, fun. They are fun games, and some of the action set pieces in those games are stunning. But some of those areas, you're like, this is ludicrous, like beyond ludicrous.
Yeah, no, it's not. They're not quite as elaborate as that.
There is they're making an Uncharted movie, aren't they?
They've
rumored to have been for a long time.
They've been trying to get one done for ages, and it keeps flipping on who's who and that. But the last one I heard was Tom Holland was playing him.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he was playing a young.
They based, I think they based the character on Nathan Fillion, didn't they? But obviously,
they did.
They've missed the boat with that one now.
And I
think
Nathan Fillion did a short, didn't he?
Did he really? I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure that's right. And I think, Marky Mark is playing
good old Marky Mark.
Marky Mark is playing playing the mentor character, I think.
Okay.
Well, that was the last I heard anyway, and it's been a while since that, and it all sounded a bit naff, to be honest.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, Tom Holland can do all the leaps and.
Yeah, he's Spider-Man. Of course, he can do the leaps.
Exactly, he can do all that sort of stuff. So he's fine with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure I want to see a young.
No.
Drake movie. I actually want to see the older character.
Yeah, I agree.
But so yeah, it's not great, but it is fun.
A bit of fun.
And it's a nice enough heist movie as long as you don't ask too many questions.
And
because a lot of it really does really why is that? Why are they doing that? That's like that doesn't make sense at all. And it, like you said, there's no sort of the actual the thing with the vault when they come up with it is there are some genuine sort of moments of tension when there's a bit where they disguise themselves as cleaners. I'm not giving too much away. They disguise themselves as cleaners and they go in and they get to this board room and they've got this scanner that they've placed down, and it's sort of it's scanning the floor, but it takes so many minutes or whatever it is for the scan to work, and he's underneath this boardroom table, and of course a board meeting comes in while he's there.
Right.
And so this board meeting's going on while he's and there's genuine tension. There's some real moments, like some of the underwater scenes. There's some real sort of this is actually it's just gripping enough that it's quite good. It's quite well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not terribly original or anything like that, but it's enjoyable enough. So I would kind of recommend it if you just want to see a movie. A sort of a heisty enough movie that you can slightly switch your brain off.
Well, I've got time for that. I almost watched this one myself because I saw the trailer and I thought, it looks quite fun.
Yeah.
So I may well check that out. What else have you watched?
So I have seen Carmilla. So this came out this is another one that came out in 2019, I think, or it was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm counting all movies from the end of 2019 through 2020 into 2021 as just 1 year, because Yeah.
So it's on again. It's on Amazon at the moment. So this is it takes the story of Carmilla, the Sheridan Le Fanu vampire story.
Yeah.
Which it's a vampire story that's older than Dracula. It was written before Dracula, and it's. Have you ever seen this is a stupid question, but you've seen The Vampire Lovers, right?
Yeah.
With Ingrid Pitt.
Yeah.
So that's the story. Or basically that's the story,
Yeah.
But this is directed by Emily Harris. I think this is her. Oh, she has done a few other things. Looks like that I don't recognise, but I think this is her first major film.
Right.
It's got Hannah Rue, or is that Rue or Ray? Devrim Lingnau and Jessica Rain.
Names are not our friend.
No, they're not. Curse being English and terrible. Tobias Menzies, who I absolutely adore. He's really good at playing assholes.
Yeah.
And Greg Weiss. So this takes that story and it kind of pares it back. It makes it less about the vampire elements and more about a sort of coming of age story. So it's does it keep it as a supernatural thing, or right now? I've read some reviews of this that have said, oh, there's no sort of vampire stuff. There's like she's got a reflection and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, yeah, but watch the movie and just pay attention, okay? Because there are no fangs, there are no, like I just said, there's no like she's got no reflection, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
This movie does a really good job of leaving it to your interpretation.
Okay.
So basically the basic story is Laura Bauer is a young girl. I think she's 15, and she lives in a house with her father and Miss Fontaine, who is her governess. And her governess is incredibly religious and strict.
Right.
So much so that Laura is left-handed, and because that is it's a sign of witches or the devil. Yeah. It's and she binds her left hand behind her back,
forcing her to
use her right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura she's really inquisitive. She wants to know about everything. She's obsessed with nature, and she reads this anatomy book surreptitiously. She's not allowed to read it, but it's got these amazing pictures in it of we're talking. This is I think late 1700s.
Yeah.
So we're talking the sort of graphic pictures of autopsy, as it were, sort of thing. And she sort of she makes her own little drawings and stuff. And of course, her governess is horrified when she finds that she's been looking at this book.
Yeah.
And she's told that a girl from another village called Charlotte is going to come and visit and stay for a couple of days or so, and they're going to have she's for company and companionship, and she's finally going to have someone to talk to, and as she says, we can wear each other's dresses and everything, and and just do all the things that she just hasn't been able to do because she's isolated in this house, through no, I don't think through any sort of like evil sort of not through sort of like oh, she's isolated because she's it's just literally that she just lives in this place where there are no other girls her age, and she her governess is very protective of her.
Yeah.
And then she's told that this girl is sick, and she can't come, so she's really distraught. And then this coach accident happens, and the driver is killed, and they find a girl in the coach, and she is brought to the house. And initially she doesn't speak, and she's they can't find any any identification of her on her or anything like that. And slowly this girl, Laura sort of kind of befriends her, but she's obviously she's not English. She's sort of this exotic girl that she kind of she sort of falls in with, and she's so excited to have company, and this. And meanwhile, you've got this vicar played by Toby Menzies. Oh no, actually, I think he's a doctor, not a vicar. Who he's telling the governess about this Charlotte who's become deathly ill, and that there seems to be other cases in other villages of these girls that have become very pale and won't eat and have subsequently died.
Mm-hmm.
And from there it goes on. But what I'll say is this movie is stunningly shot. It is absolutely beautiful.
Right.
There are some beautiful scenes when she's outdoors and she's looking at nature, and she's looking at insects and worms and things, and you get these real intense close-ups of like real grubby sort of termites and things, and sort of, and the sound is amazing. You get the full lot. There's like a scene with whether you're watching an earthworm, and the squelching sound as it moves is like really disgusting, but sort of fascinating.
Wow.
And there's the scenes in the house at night are all sort of like in candlelight, and it's absolutely beautiful. The performances are amazing. The young girl playing Laura is so brilliantly believable as this bright, inquisitive young girl who is kind of stifled by her governess, and it depends on how you see it. She has these dreams and of like autopsies, and she has these dreams of Carmilla. And Carmilla, there's a scene with a magician, and the magician's dog reacts really badly to Carmilla when she tries to come outside, and barks at her and growls at her.
Right.
And it's there are all the people that are saying, oh, there's no vampirism in this. There's no sort of. It's like, are you watching the same movie that I'm watching?
Were you just not paying attention?
Yeah, because she's, to me at least, and I think that's what this movie does quite well, is it does leave it to your own judgment.
Sure.
But she's clearly, Laura is falling ill. She's becoming weaker. And it could just be, you can interpret it that it is just an illness. It's just like consumption or something.
Yeah.
And other girls in other villages are getting consumption as well. It could just be that. But it's, this amazing girl, Carmilla, who at one point she asks her whether she believes in hell, and she says no. And she says, do you believe in heaven? And she's like, no. And there's a poem that the girl recites at one point. Laura recites at some point, and it sort of ends with sands of deserts of time. This poem ends, and Laura says to Carmilla, what do you think happens when we die then, sort of thing? And she says, deserts of time. And it's beautiful, like really, really beautiful. And I'm not going to spoil the ending.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think depending on how you look at it, it can be seen as maybe it's a religious governess who is actually doing her best to protect her ward from evil, or maybe it's an evil governess who's doing her best to stifle a young woman.
Yeah.
And get her ready for a society that's not going to be good, for her.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can come at it from many angles, but I think the core of it's still there. Just because you don't have Ingrid Pitt running around with fangs and
sure,
it doesn't mean that the vampirism is not there. And it ends, the end shot, which is a stunning shot. Really does make it. So maybe it is a slight dream, or maybe it's just what she sees, or maybe something else sinister has happened.
Sure. It's up to your interpretation.
And it does a really good job of that, I think. Unlike any movie I've seen for a while, that leaves it up to you. I really like this. I think because I read some of the reviews and I thought maybe you're not for me, because you know how much I love vampire movies.
Oh yeah.
And this isn't a standard vampire movie.
I mean, you are probably the biggest vampire fan I know. So, in terms of vampire literature and film and media, yeah.
And I still think this is it is a lot's changed from the story, which most movies do from the story anyway.
Yep.
But the core of it makes it more of a coming of age romance than an out horror.
Yeah, well, that works,
I really, really enjoyed it. It's the performances are stunning. The cinematography is gorgeous and lush, and the sound at times the sound sort of like you can't quite hear what's being said. But I think that was an intentional thing, not just a usual, Netflix's buggered up sound.
Yeah.
Something. yeah, it's stunning. The director, I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next, because she's got a real eye for beautiful shots.
So is this her first film, her first feature, or?
I don't think it is. I think it's her first major
big,
one.
Yeah, mainstream. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think she's produced a few things. Love is Thicker Than Water, I do not know. Paragraphs, yeah, all these ones I've not heard of. But I think this is her first major, so I highly recommend, if you want to see a more grounded, romance-driven interpretation of the story, then this is it for you. It's a great, beautiful movie. I can't recommend it enough.
Wow, yeah. Well, I will be sure to check that one out. Definitely. So I think that's about it for movies, isn't it? Have you got any more? I think that was it.
That's it.
I guess we should probably talk about trailers, because there's been a couple.
We should probably also mention, before going into that, we should mention Michael K. Williams, who died this week, 54, who was a phenomenal actor. One of the best. I mean, we are talking in an ensemble of amazing actors. Was one of the best characters in The Wire. Stunning actor in so many great things.
Well, I mean, he was the character that everyone remembers from The Wire. Yeah, like over the stars of the show. Like he was like the one character that everyone talks about.
I think even wasn't it even President Obama said that Omar was one of the greatest characters ever written.
And that's probably not an overstatement. He was an incredibly well written character. I mean, The Wire, I know, like, The Wire is one of those. It's one of those fucking shows that everyone talks about, so people get sick of hearing, like Breaking Bad and stuff. But The Wire is truly incredibly well written, and Omar is a fantastic character.
Yeah, I think The Wire, is probably one of the greatest TV shows ever done. It's just
I think that's fair to say.
It's amazing. True. What I love about that series is that just the whole, each season was a different aspect of the city.
Yeah.
Each one was considered. Everything was, there was no black and white in that show. It's all shades.
Absolutely.
And it comes from both sides. It comes from, the criminals and the cops. It comes from the city, the city ordinance, all the way up to the teaching and journalism. It's stunning piece of work.
It is, and he's fantastic in it.
He was absolutely amazing in it.
Absolutely.
And we should also mention Ed Eisner.
Yes.
Another phenomenal actor who just he's just been in so many amazing things. I mean, he was even the voice of the main character in Up.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was 91, so great movie. I even saw him recently in. So I watch Frankie and Grace.
Yeah.
And he was in that recently. I saw an episode of him in that. So he was working right up until recently. Still performing.
A lot of that generation do. They just seem to work and work and work.
Yeah. Amazing actor. So
incredible. So, where do you want to start? Spider-Man or The Matrix?
So let's start with Spider-Man.
Okay, so I've already forgotten the name of it, but there's a new Spider-Man movie.
Oh my God!
So it's going to have home. I bet it's got home in the title.
Far From Home, Home and Away.
Home and Away. Spider-Man Home and Away. And the trailer dropped, I guess, last week when we were doing The Hound of the Baskervilles. So. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much confirmed the rumors and whatnot, I guess, that it is a multiverse story. We've got the different villains, at least, from the other Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies.
I mean, it was really good to see Doc Ock at the end. That was kind of cool.
It was good to see, and I liked the setup. I thought the setup was great. I thought I liked the idea that Spider-Man is struggling to live with everyone knowing that he's Spider-Man, and that's good. But
No Way Home, that's what it's called.
No Way Home, okay. And obviously Doc Strange here rather than Mephisto doing the deal.
Well, I mean,
in theory, assuming it is. I mean, who knows?
Guess, from the way he's acting, I'm guessing that's probably not Doc Strange.
It does seem a bit weird, I must admit. It's kind of very out of character.
I mean, it might not be Mephisto because they might not want to use Mephisto. But I don't think that was Doc Strange. I think that was someone else.
I guess we'll see. It looks like a fun enough movie. I'm a little like I kind of feel like, I don't know. I know that Spider-Man was always big on the multiverse, the spider. You had Madam Web and all that stuff, didn't you? And all the different, and that's all cool. It just feels a bit like.
Have we ever had Madam Web in a movie yet? I don't think we have.
No, I think they did it in the cartoons.
Yeah, the cartoons did it.
I remember. So did I. But I don't know what. I don't know what to make of this trailer. I think it looks fine.
I think the problem is I loved the first one. I thought the first one was great.
Yes.
Mostly because of Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
The second one I thought was awful.
I was kind of indifferent to it, if I'm honest.
I just find it so boring and dull.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really sorry for Jake Gyllenhaal because I don't know what he was doing in that movie.
No, he did seem horribly miscast to me.
And I'm so sick of let's link everything to Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Can we not? I mean, this is fucking Spider-Man.
Well, I guess I kind of understand it for that movie because Spider-Man was completely linked to Tony Stark. They kind of screwed themselves with that. But
that's the thing.
Now
I don't like about this Spider-Man how much he's linked to bloody Stark.
Well, I guess he's not in this one. I guess hopefully they'll move him forward now. I think my main concern with it is like, are we really at that stage now where we're so desperate that we need to do like, hey, we're going to bring back villains from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man from like 30 years ago, 20 years ago or something? I don't know. It just all kind of feels a bit like, are we that desperate that, you know, we're kind of... I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. It just feels like, hey, we're at the stage now where we're like, hey, remember this? Remember that?
I don't understand why they're bringing Electro back, because Electro was
awful. Well, I know why they're doing it. It's so they can do a multiverse Sinister Six, isn't it?
Yes,
that's the only reason. I mean, because they never did that in
the trailers.
The Raimi ones.
I mean, there was like pumpkin bombs, and there were other things that are clearly, you know,
which I'm hoping means that Keaton will be in it, because obviously you need Vulture.
Yeah, I think that would. Yeah, that would. I mean,
and you could have this world's Vulture with, you know, I guess you're like I said, a multiverse Sinister Six created from all of them. I think there are some issues for sure that I really don't understand. Like Doc Ock is apparently taken at the moment before his death, but he turned to good at the moment before his death. From my memory.
Am I deceiving me, or is he been de-aged?
Oh, he's been de-aged for sure.
He's definitely been de-aged.
Unless he's not aged. I mean, I'm pretty sure the actor has aged. So
Alfred Millie is definitely aged. Yeah. I saw him recently in that. He was in that. The Waterman. He was in that. Oh, he's aged.
So yeah, they've de-aged him clearly. I mean, it looks fine. I don't know if I'll bother seeing it, but it looks fine if you like that kind of thing. I think it might have taken some of the wind out of Shang-Chi's sails, that trailer dropping right before it. But interesting choice.
I'm not sure they even knew what to do with bloody Shang-Chi after.
It seems that way. It seems weird to release a trailer for a massive movie just before your movie's about to come out. You'd think, like, focus on the movie that's coming out and then drop the trailer. Or say, we'll show you the trailer when you watch the movie.
Once China abandoned it, they didn't know how to...
maybe.
They didn't know what to do with it.
Maybe.
And it's to be honest, I that first trailer I thought was terrible. It did not appeal to me at all, and I like Shang-Chi. I think he's not great.
Oh, sorry, the Shang-Chi trailer,
most memorable characters
I
ever.
don't even remember.
I know who he is and I enjoy him.
No idea.
And it's getting relatively good reviews, so I don't.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
But it's also got some awful reviews. It sounds like it's a bit of a mess.
Sure.
And it sounds like he's not the main character in his own movie. But,
right. Okay.
It sounds like a lot of the martial arts and stuff is really good.
Well, that's good. I don't even know who Shang-Chi is. So
even the expense of the Eternals, they started promoting that over it. So it's weird.
It is, but it's a strong trailer. I think it's fine. It feels. I hope it's not entirely relying on nostalgia to get through the movie. I hope there's a bit more substance to the film, and it kind of hints that there may be. I like the idea of it being like you can't live a lie anymore. That it's not because I think Doc Strange at one point says, this is happening because you refuse to accept your dual life. You need to embrace it and just kind of accept it. So it looks interesting enough.
That's always been one of the weirdest things about the MCU movies is no one really has an hidden ego, alter ego. They people just know them as they are.
Yeah, except for Spider-Man, and apparently it's a big secret.
And he got outed in that last movie, so it's like weird.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Could be fun. And then, of course, we have the Matrix Resurrected, which dropped yesterday, I think, that trailer. Resurrections, yes. It looks... right, I will say this. It looks incredibly well shot. Yeah. It looks incredibly well directed.
I fucking hope so. The Wachowskis are pretty good at...
Well...
They're good at their... They're pretty good at their craft.
They're good.
I mean, they're very good at making things look good.
They're good at style over substance.
Yeah.
I fucking hate the Matrix sequels. I think they're terrible.
They're awful. They're terrible movies.
So I don't hold out much hope.
Say,
but it looks better than the other two. So
I watched them. I watched the whole lot again not so long ago, maybe about a year or so.
Okay. How did you find it? Because I've only watched those in the cinema. I don't think I bothered after that.
The first one's still great.
Yeah.
I've
seen the first one since. Yeah. I've not seen the sequels since.
The sequels, I kind of like them a little more now.
Okay, that's interesting.
Whether it's just maybe I've just sort of like
softened on it.
That.
Yeah.
But they're not great. They're not.
No.
They're not good movies. And there's so much wrong. I mean, that fucking dance scene just seems to go on forever. I fucking hate that
dance scene. Oh yes, that was in wherever it is, Zion or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
God, I
forgot. Like, what the fuck?
I forgot about that.
This goes on forever.
I mean, it was a movie that was clearly never made with a sequel in mind, and they were throwing a load of money, and fair play, they cashed it in. I couldn't stand the sequels. I thought they were dreadful. So I don't hold out much hope. But having said that, this looks 100 times better than the sequels did. The trailer was a strong trailer. Whether it lives up to the original, I don't know.
I mean, I watched the trailer and I didn't really feel anything.
Well, I didn't, because I don't really like the sequels, but I will say it looks very well directed for the most part. And kind of interesting. I think if you're a Matrix fan, it looks great. And I am a fan of the original movie.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
It's just the sequels I have issue with, and I don't know whether this is gonna help or further hinder that for me. I don't know.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's just one of those sort of things. It's like the further you get away from the original movie, I think the worse it sort of seems.
Yeah, and then it's like we've got adult Trinity and Neo, but young Morpheus.
Yeah, I don't know.
With no explanation.
If he's supposed to be Morpheus or what?
Well, he's doing a bloody good Morpheus impression if he's not.
Yeah.
It's weird. And it's like, well, why wouldn't... Did Morpheus die? I don't remember Morpheus dying. Maybe he did. But then Trinity died, and she's still around, so what's going on? I don't know.
He sacrificed himself, didn't he? He sort of sacrificed himself, I guess, to bring her back.
Neo?
Did he?
Did he? I can't bloody remember now, to be honest.
Is that how it went? Or I watched it not that long ago. Well, I say over a year ago now. and I've forgotten most.
Maybe
of it
she did survive. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I think she definitely.
I don't think I'm going to watch them to find out. So I'll
That's
just.
it, isn't it?
If I watch this movie, which I probably will, I'll read the Wikipedia beforehand to catch up and remind myself of what happened. But it looks very well directed.
It just made me think. Oh, I can't wait for the next John Wick movie.
Yeah, he's like I don't know. Was he filming both at the same time? And he was like, "No, I'm not cutting my hair. Like, I'm just going to go with it."
It's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
It's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, the thing is that the sequels, there are some really nice ideas in the sequels. I like the idea that is it the Carolingian?
Yeah, that was all quite interesting. I do remember that being
all of his
interesting.
Sort of like these people they're all like relics from previous Matrixes.
Yes, and I'm assuming that's what we have here is a new Matrix, a new version.
Because one of the ones I love is the idea that I want to see the movie that's set in the Matrix version that's all vampires and ghosts. And stuff.
Like a Westworld version of the Matrix.
The one where the Hammer version, where the Carolingian is and stuff. I want to see that version.
Yeah. It looks interesting. I guess we'll see. I'm a bit like, is this a one-off, or are we going to do the inevitable? Is this movie the inevitable Neo handing his powers off to someone else movie? Is that what we're having here?
I think maybe it's.
I could be wrong. I just got a very strong vibe of like. I feel like he's going to hand his powers off to some young person who's going to continue the story without him. You know?
Yeah.
Which then begs the question of like, why did you bother? It's like he brought him back because he died or whatever at the end of the first one. Although I think didn't they end at the end of the last one? They said, "Oh, he may come back one day" or something.
They sort of shelved him because I think he kind of. I guess his consciousness had uploaded into the Matrix, I suppose.
Something like that, wasn't it?
But
it's like so.
I mean, he still exists.
He still exists.
Yeah, but I think his body was dead.
I assume so, although his body is in the trailer, so it's a little confusing. I'm not sure. But yeah,
it is hard to work up any enthusiasm for it. I don't feel. I'm certainly not going to rush out and go and watch it.
If this was coming, if they'd made one Matrix movie and then this one, I would be very interested. But with the sequels, I'm not sure. Maybe this will be the first good sequel. Maybe this will be the one that really sort of brings me back in. And I'm like, oh, great, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I mean, the Animatrix was quite good. I
loved the Animatrix. The Animatrix was incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
Those were quite, some of the stories in there were quite nice.
The thing is, the Matrix ends perfectly. It ends perfectly. Him flying away. We don't need any explanation. And that was the thing as well. It's like the Back to the Future ending, isn't it? Where it's like, oh, we're doing a part 2, so I guess the car's flying now, so we're fucked. I guess the car flies in the next movie, and Jennifer's not in the car, Jennifer is in the car, so now we have to get rid of Jennifer, and we're stuck with all this stuff. And it's like they did that with the Matrix Reloaded, where it was like, oh shit, well, we made him fly at the end, which was never meant to be answered, but
he's super god now. What the fuck do we do?
But that's the thing. It's like that's how the movie was meant to end, and then that would be it. He was going to go fix it. He was going to change things. End of movie. End of. No series needed, no continuation. And the Animatrix, in my mind, was the perfect way of telling more stories. Do stories aside, side stories from the one narrative. But yeah, we'll see. It certainly was a well-directed trailer. I wonder what happened to the other Wachowski. Were they just like, nah, can't be bothered with that.
Maybe.
You're on your own. I don't know. It's a bit weird to see like only one of them. Doing it, because you'd think it was both of their babies, right? And you'd think they'd both want to be involved.
Maybe the other one just didn't want to. Maybe for her the story was done.
And that's fair enough. Which then begs the question of, well, is the story for this one that good when one of the Wachowskis couldn't be bothered to come back for it? Or I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But in any case, it's an interesting trailer, and I certainly understand people being very excited. If you're a fan of The Matrix, it looks great. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm guessing it's not very long to wait now, but
No.
No.
No. Was it December?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's due for December. So it's interesting that they, it feels like they completely rushed this in and were like, yep, got a turn out already, and it's coming out December. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's not a long turnaround, is it? Because it only feels like it was being rumoured like half a year ago, and it's like, oh, it's done. I was like, wow, okay.
Very interesting.
But we'll see. We will see.
Yeah. So what's a few other little bits and pieces? Nick Cage is doing 2 westerns.
Excellent.
Which sounds great. I think I've got to try and find what they're called. The Old Way and Butcher's Crossing. Sorry.
Okay.
First one sounds like he's playing a guy who owns a former gunslinger owns a general store. His wife is killed, and he goes on a sort of revenge trip with his daughter. And then the other one, I don't think there's. Oh, it's about a guy who drops out of Harvard to pursue heading west to a Kansas town called Butcher's Crossing.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, he's not, as he said himself, he's never done a western before.
No, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so I'm we both love westerns.
Oh,
and we both adore Nicolas Cage. So
we do, especially these days.
What's not to love? That's I'm really happy about that. Netflix has got their hands on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel.
Yes, so I hear.
So they're doing what Halloween and many other things are doing right now.
Ignore all but the first one.
Exactly, they've just done a sequel to the first one and nothing else, which is beginning to be a massive trend now. Which I kind of feel sorry for anybody who was in original sequels. It's like, those don't exist anymore. Fuck off.
I have a real soft spot for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I love it.
It is fucking mental.
I mean, it's a comedy. It's not. It's very much a different thing. But I really do love that movie. What's Dennis Hopper? Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, he's incredible.
Dennis Hopper in a career of scenery chewing. Performances. He's just fucking.
Wasn't there a story of like? Wasn't the story that he just wanted to go on holiday there or something? So he was like, "I'll make the movie just because I'm going to be there anyway," or something. Something weird like that. There was some weird reason as to why he got involved in it, but I love that movie.
There's a lot of weird stories with him. I mean, look at that. I mean, the Blue Velvet. That's what my favorite one is. He got the script for Blue Velvet to play Frank, and he read it. He immediately phoned Lynch and said, "I am Frank. I'm Frank."
That's
and he's
that.
Like, "Oh, okay. You're a bit mental, aren't you?" It's like, I should be afraid of you. It's like, clearly you're not a well man. But he's amazing in that movie, and it's like you said, it's a completely its own thing. It's not. It doesn't have remotely the same feel that the first one does.
No, and intentionally so. It's clearly, it's a much more light, silly, campy horror movie.
How many times has this been, this has been rebooted a couple of times as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, there was obviously Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and 3. Then we had the Michael Bay produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, right?
I forgot he produced those.
And then there was another Texas Chainsaw 3D or something, or another one. I lose track, to be honest.
I mean, if they can get the feel of the first movie, because I don't think any of them have really managed that.
No.
Because it's the thing about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, I think everybody thinks of it as, well, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people think of it as this big bloody like slasher type movie, and it's not. Anybody who knows about horror movies knows it's not that sort of movie.
No.
But I think it's probably quite hard to get that tone right if you're trying to bring back that first movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
But the Halloween sequel was great.
Yeah,
for the most part. I mean, you liked it more than I did, but I'm more than willing to give it a go.
I liked it. I liked it as a best of, really. It's a best of the other movies in terms of kills. It had some silly moments, but overall I thought it was a more effective sequel than most of the sequels they made. I can't fucking believe they're making more. Like, that's just like it's like, oh, we're gonna make a movie to fix the Halloween series, and then immediately fall into the trap that the Halloween series fell into by making a sequel to it unnecessarily.
Well, two, isn't it? It's going to be 2 sequels.
Yeah, which is crazy. But we'll see. Texas Chainsaw. I'll watch it. I'll give it a go. You know.
There is a trailer for Alan Moore is penned noir thriller, The Show.
Okay.
Which I really like the trailer. I think it's going to be one of those. It's an Alan Moore thing, so it's going to be fucking weird. And the trailer really is fucking weird. It stars Tom Burke, who I really love, and Ellie Bamber. He did a number of years ago. He did this short. I can't remember whether the short was called the same thing or not. And this has a real feel of that. It looks very trippy and very Lynchian.
Okay.
And of course, Moore himself appears in it as well as this sort of. I think he's playing a dead comedian. So yeah, I'm a huge Alan Moore fan, so I'm more than happy to. But I think this is gonna. I don't think this is gonna have a massive audience. This movie.
No, I can't imagine it will. But could be fun.
Yeah. And the other trailer that I saw, which I thought was interesting, the next installment of Welcome to Blumhouse.
Oh, okay. I'd forgotten about that, actually.
Yeah, so last year they did the Welcome to Blumhouse, which was 4 movies that they released. I reviewed all of them.
You did indeed, yes.
And they were varying sort of things. My main gripe with them was that they didn't feel... A lot of them weren't really horror movies. One in particular was not a horror movie at all. It was it's quite good, but it wasn't a horror movie. Which I guess is, Blumhouse doesn't just do horror movies, but it's kind of what they're known for, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this one we've got. They're basically, I think they're being released 2 at a time. So we've got Bingo Hell, and Black as Night, which is a vampire movie.
Yeah.
And then we've got Madras and The Manor. So all 4 of these look like they're much more horror movies than the last one. I think I'm actually looking forward to this because I did enjoy most of the ones last time.
The one I only watched 1 or 2. I enjoyed them though. Thought they were fine.
Yeah.
Like you said, not amazing, but they were interesting enough.
They were interesting, and there were some nice ideas in some of them. There were some sort of memorable moments in 1 or 2.
Yeah.
The one about the girl at the music school, I think, had its problems, but I quite enjoyed that one. I thought there's some nice stuff in that. Yeah. And even the one with the sort of virtual reality one, even that was quite good.
Mm.
So they all sort of had their moments, and I'm looking forward to these actually. The trailer's quite good, and I'm looking forward to at least 2 of them. Look like they're definitely going to be good. The other ones are like, okay, I'll give that a go.
Worth a shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, Matt.
I think that's pretty much it. We should have mentioned that it was Star Trek Day the other day.
Who gives a fuck?
And I was
Who gives a fuck anymore?
It was a case of I wanted to do something, so I did watch like 4 episodes of old Trek.
Oh no, watching Star Trek is great. Watching classic Star Trek is great. I thought you wanted to comment on Star Trek Day, the event, which I have no comment on. It looks dreadful.
No, I just wanted to mention it as a
as
a thing for us. I basically watched Balance of Terror because it's my favourite episode.
Wonderful episode.
I watched The Doomsday Machine.
Another one of my favourites.
And then just to sort of shake it up, I watched Blood Oath.
Just to watch it, just to mix it up, I watched Picard.
Yeah. And no, Christ no. No, I watched Blood Oath and then I watched Relic.
Oh, which one's? I love Relic. What? Which one's Blood Oath?
It's the one where Kor and Kang.
Oh yes, that's great.
The Klingons, the old Klingons, come to find Curzon.
Yeah.
And find Jadzia.
Yeah, good stuff.
It's one of my favourite Deep Space Nine episodes.
It's a very good episode, yeah. I must admit, Star Trek Day passed me by for the most part.
I'm not even going to go into the whole.
I have had a real hankering to watch one of the movies again soon. I'm not sure which. One of the TOS movies, yeah, the TOS movies. I just can't decide which one. I keep thinking about it. I'm like, I will watch that soon. But I've also got. I finally got the Daimajin trilogy delivered today, which I ordered like a month ago or something. So I'm going to be watching them this weekend. So I don't know if I'll be watching Star Trek this weekend. But
what is that?
Oh, it's a tokusatsu giant monster thing. It's basically about a wrathful spirit sealed inside of a statue, and villagers kind of pray to it, and it comes to life. You've probably seen the statue. I've never watched them, but I've always thought they look cool. I don't
think I've ever seen it, but I do know the ones you mean. Yeah.
So I've always thought they look cool. They're from the 60s, and I was like, it's always nice to watch some new tokusatsu. So, but yeah, I just don't know. I really want to go back and watch and it sounds terrible. I really want to go back and watch Star Trek.
Do you want to do a Star Trek movie for next week then?
Sure, but not the one I just said. Well, I was like, I just said, I know it sounds stupid, but I really want to go back and watch Star Trek 5, but I don't really want to review it. I was just like, we'll just watch it at some point. But yeah, go on then. What Star Trek movie would you like to cover? I was just about to ask you, what will we cover next weekend? So
we've done the motion picture, haven't we?
We have definitely done the motion picture, and we've done Generations.
We have done Generations, yes.
I think those are the only two.
So,
I think.
Maybe Wrath of Khan's too obvious. I think everybody's done Wrath of Khan.
Who hasn't? I mean, we could do, but you know.
Did you want to do one of the others? Let's not do the Final Frontier.
Well, you know, I love Undiscovered Country. I love all of them, actually. Which one were you going to suggest?
So, I was going to suggest
because honestly, I can find a lot of good in even in Final Frontier. I think there are some great moments. There's some great character moments in that film.
One of my favourite Bones moments is in
the bit with his father is amazing.
That's
such an amazing scene.
Yeah. That's like my main takeaway from that.
It really is, yeah. That and the campfire stuff is what I remember from that. That movie, but
and the what does God want with a starship?
Well, of course,
that's a great line. Let's go. So, Voyage Home, Undiscovered Country, and how about at a push? How about First Contact?
Yeah, I'm up for any of those. Do you have a preference?
No, actually, I'm happy to do any of those three.
Well, maybe we should do First Contact because we did.
Generations.
We did Generations, but we did the motion picture last, didn't we? We did a TOS. So let's do a next gen movie.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, why not? I've not watched First Contact for a while.
Remind ourselves of when Picard was good.
Yes, and when the movies started going downhill.
Yeah.
You know, as
because I think that is the last great movie.
It's the last good one, and it does have some issues on a rewatch. Like when I saw it in the cinema, I was like, "This movie is amazing," and then you watch it now, and you're like, "Oh, this is where they fucked up the Borg. This is where things started going wrong with all of that, and Voyager and all that shit kind of started here. We don't need a queen and all of that. Yeah, good.
No, I know.
Good, and half of that story
is fucking amazing.
Sorry.
Yeah, but Alice Krieg is fucking amazing.
and all of it's funny how like the older you get, the more your opinions change. Like when I watched First Contact, I was a lot younger, and I was like, oh my god, the Borg stuff. So the stuff on the ship's so great with the Borg, and then we get the boring stuff with First Contact on the planet. And now the older I get, the more I'm like, I love all the stuff on the planet, and the Borg stuff can just piss off.
Okay.
Like the First Contact stuff, I love.
Stop talking. Stop talking. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it. Okay, we're going to do it next week. We'll cover Star Trek First Contact. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.